From the Ticats Audio Network, this is Ticats Today with Steve Milton.
It's Monday, July 8th. This is Ticats Today, and I'm Steve Milton. Well, maybe the bye week will be good for what ails the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and maybe it won't. But it is clear that they need the break, as long as they use it profitably, and we'll hear from Bo Levi Mitchell on that after the Ticats closed in on the one-third mark of their 2024 season by dropping to 0-5 with last night's 44-28 loss to the BC Lions and quarterback Vern Adams Jr. Head coach Scott Milanovich rues another horribly slow start to a game. Mitchell discusses urgency in complementary football, or more accurately, the lack of it. And defensive back Jamal Peters urges everyone to not panic, stay the course, and analyze the problems. If you're a die-hard Ticats fan and weren't worried before Sunday night, you likely are now. And frankly, you probably should be, as this was clearly a setback in what the Ticat coaches, players, and staff had all felt was an arc of improvement, building game to game on some positive developments. But this one went, at very best, sideways. And I'd venture to say it probably went a little bit backwards as well. Remember, in 2 of their first 4 games, they fell behind early enough and by enough that they could not adequately recover. On opening night in Calgary, it was 19-4. 2 weeks ago in Saskatchewan, it was 18-0. And last night, it was 24-1 after less than 20 minutes of play. Scott Milanovich.
Yeah, you can't start a game against a good team like that. What was it, 24-1 at one point? I mean, before we started playing, I just told them in there, nobody's having fun in there, I can promise you that. It's our job as coaches to put them in position to execute. We're going to look and see if we did that. And if we did and the guys weren't executing, we're going to have to figure that out. But can't start games like that. It looked too easy in the first half, right? Everybody saw that. So I got to figure out exactly why that was. And to speculate on it without having seen the film and seeing what coverages we were in and who might have made mistakes, it'd be unfair.
The mathematical details of that huge early deficit are so pervasive they're hard to grasp. 4 plays and 2 minutes after the opening kickoff, running back William Stanback found himself so isolated on a 48-yard pass reception right up the middle that he looked like he was marooned on a South Sea island as he waltzed in for the touchdown. The next BC drive did take 40 seconds and 2 plays longer, but still covered 70 yards, with Justin McInnis hauling in the first of his 2 touchdown receptions. Adams had 11 completions, 202 yards passing, and 2 touchdowns. McInnis made 7 catches for 125 yards, and Stanback had 62 yards, all by the end of the first quarter. By halftime, Adams had thrown 4 touchdown passes, going 18 for 25 and 321 yards.
Yeah, we started slowly. They went right down the field, scored a touchdown, and then the offense started with 2 2-and-outs, and special teams started with penalties. And you're down 24-1. So, yes, you're right.
It begged the question to Milanovich in the post-game media scrum as to whether the Ticats maybe aren't quite as good as people, and that includes me, I admit, thought they might be.
Well, you are what your record says you are. I thought we would be better than this at this point. I can promise you that. So we're 0-5. There's no hiding from that.
Still, this being the CFL, the Ticats got it to within 2 scores in the final minute of the third quarter, with Luther Hakanavanu continuing his solid return from injury with a touchdown reception for Mitchell. But they couldn't close the gap, which actually got bigger. Now, the Ticats and all pro teams talk about complementary. That's with an E, not an I, play, meaning that the thigh bone is connected to the knee bone, is connected to the leg bone. One of the 3 units, defense, offense, special teams, responds to the success of another with its own success, and the third follows suit. That was in far too short supply last night. For example, after the Ticats made it 37-21, that's only a 2-point converted touchdowns difference on Hakanavanu's major, the defense registered back-to-back sacks. But the offense quickly went 2 and out, followed by a stall drive on its next series. Then the Lions controlled the ball for nearly 6 minutes, culminating in Stanback's short run that put the game out of reach at 44-21 with under 2 minutes remaining. Now, when you add 6 penalties on offense, hurting drives, and 3 more on special teams, that's not the kind of complementary football the Tiger Cats are looking for, as Bo Levi Mitchell suggested afterwards.
Football is a beautiful sport because you have 3 different entities with offense, defense, special teams that have to work cohesively when they're not on the field at the same time. complementary football is when, the defense goes 2 and out, punt team gets a good return, offense puts together a long drive, keeps the defense off the field, puts up some points. And there just wasn't enough of that. I mean, there hasn't been enough of that yet. And we'll figure it out. We just have to figure it out, right? Like, it's not just going to happen magically. And I think that's one thing to message to get across is, there's no magic antidote. It's all of a sudden going to fix everything. Nobody's going to show up in that door and, all of a sudden turn this team into a different team. It's going to take the guys in this room, the staff in this room, to put our head down, keep working, and do whatever we can to make it go.
Now, even from a distance, it was apparent that the Ticats didn't open with the desperation required for a team that was trying not to fall to 0-5. The secondary had lapses again and played too far off their men several times. The offense didn't get untracked until late in the first half, and the 9 penalties were mostly ill-timed and cluttered any sense of rhythm. Mitchell talked about urgency.
I mean, I saw it all week. I think we got to make sure it's translated to the game. Confidence is something it's earned, but it comes within the self, right? Like being prepared, believing in yourself, understanding that, it's you against the guy across from you, right? So just making sure that each guy in there has that confidence and don't let it leave you just because of losses or whatnot. That's a big thing. Like, I think it's hard for some guys to be confident right now with the 0-5 start, but at the same time, you got to go, critically look at yourself and say, what can I get better at? What can I improve on? But at the same time, also look at yourself and say, all right, this is what I'm doing well, and keep building on those things, right? And build your confidence through that about what you are doing a good job of. We got to be very, very critical of ourselves individually, and just find out how we can each person get better.
But it still comes down to being left at the line after the starter's pistol goes off. As we said, 3 times now in 5 games. Mitchell, whose offense began to find itself late in the first half, did throw for 374 yards, 3 touchdowns, recovered his own fumbles, and didn't have an interception. But he knows that if you play with fire, eventually your fingers are going to get burned.
Slow start. It was all around offense, defense, special teams. I think they got on us early. Took the wind out of the crowd there, and we just got to respond fast. I mean, as an offense, I know you can't think about trying to get the points back too fast, but sometimes you're up against really good offenses and know it's going to be a slugfest. You've got to go out there and try to push the ball. But I wasn't good enough early, and regardless, the whole game.
It doesn't get much easier on the near horizon. The Ticats have this week off, then return to face the Toronto Argonauts on Saturday, July 27th at Tim Horton Field. Then they fly to Edmonton to play the winless but perhaps due Elks and return for a home-and-home series against the Montreal Alouettes, who are already 10 points ahead of the Tiger Cats. Boundary cornerback Jamal Peters says the Ticats should use all the bye week to their best advantage.
Nah, it wasn't. It's just at the end of the day, like, we got the bye week. We're going to figure it out. We still learning each other. I mean, at the end, we ain't going to have good games all the time. I mean, everybody know what we capable of. I mean, we just got to go back to the drawing board and see what we messed up at and, get ready for the next week.
The Ticats are giving up an average of nearly 34 points a game, worst in the league. They enter their first downtime after 3 weeks of training camp and 5 weeks of regular season, and clearly need the rest physically and probably emotionally too. Some players talked about just needing to get away and performing a mental reset. Milanovich has to do some deep dives into the specific problems this team has, and over the next few days, he and his coaches will game plan for the teams ahead. He says the timing of the bye week won't alter the kind of analysis they will be working out.
I don't think it changes. I mean, we've been evaluating what's going on the whole time. We're going to continue to do that. There's some teams we have to game plan over the week. Everything I just told the players and the coaches in there, everything is going to be evaluated and decisions will be made based on what's best for this organization.
Thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate you tuning in. Please come back for other episodes as the bye week progresses.
This has been Ticats Today with Steve Milton. Catch it on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.